Hi, this is Carlos with House of Tennis, and in this video we will cover different exercises to improve the backhand and forehand slice. That is a shot that can be used tactically in a neutral, offensive, or defensive way. The first exercise to work on the backhand or forehand slice is to help the player find the continental grip. This happens by placing the base of the index finger and the base of the palm of the hand on bezel number 2 of the grip. This grip allows the player to keep the racket head naturally open to perform either a successful backhand or forehand slice. Then work on controlling the ball in reduced spaces, and finally move the racket slightly forward while making contact to generate backspin. It is very important to start with smaller spaces where the player can have constant success while developing the correct technique. The next exercise is to work on the proper racket takeback by using lower and lateral control blocks to achieve the correct dominant arm movement. It's very important to start with the racket back behind your non-dominant shoulder, keeping the head of the racket open. Place the player in front of the coach with lower and lateral blocks, focusing on the face of the racket dropping smoothly down and forward. It's very important to focus on the lower block for wrist control and the side block for racket control. In the next exercise, the main objective is to focus on the swing path of the racket, using the ground as a lower block. The player has to focus on a good starting position with the racket open at shoulder height. The swing path must be executed in a controlled and fluid manner from high to lower, and where the butt cap of the grip must be kept in front of the head of the racket. During this exercise, the main focus should be on the control of the dominant hand and the arm to achieve the correct swing path during the contact. The following exercise is performed with the player starting with the racket ready so that the head of the racket is behind the head and above shoulder height. The weight should be on the back leg and the non-dominant hand behind the body. This is done with the objective of focusing on body balance while transferring the weight forward during contact with the ball. In this exercise, it is very important to verify the starting position, the correct swing path, and to coordinate the contact with the ball with the weight transfer, with the main objective of having a balanced and fluid slice back. In this exercise, the main objective is to focus on the correct footwork to perform a balanced slice. It is necessary to set the feet with the racket behind your head and above shoulder height. After the correct number of adjustment steps, it is important to get the proper loading position where the weight is on the outside or back leg and it gets transferred to the front leg. Once the body transfer is achieved correctly, you should focus on the correct swing path during the contact with the ball. The swing should be initiated by your dominant shoulder and contact with the ball in front of your body. The objective of this exercise is to add the non-dominant hand to the neck of the racket during the starting position in order to achieve more balance on the takeback. The swing path should be smooth and relaxed from high to lower with the racket face slightly open. Finally, the non-dominant arm moves backwards in line with the dominant arm in order to maintain balance and upper body control during the contact. In this exercise, the main objective is to explain to the player that this is a shot where you have the option of hitting a topspin backhand or a backhand slice, since the incoming ball comes with very little rhythm and not much depth. The neutral slice can be used tactically to alter the rhythm of an opponent who is used to dealing primarily with topspin shots. The change in pace and spin can cause errors or weaker returns, since the ball can be kept low and outside the opponent's ideal strike zone. Now, technically it is very important to have the correct takeback, footwork setup, and load where the weight is on the outside leg, since the incoming ball comes with less rhythm and depth. Then transfer the weight to the inside or front leg during the contact. The contact must be firm and forward with the correct swing path, with the objective of changing the rhythm of the ball successfully and keeping it below the opponent's ideal strike zone. The shoulder should always be aligned towards the direction you want to execute. It is very important that the player can coordinate the legs correctly when the incoming ball comes with topspin as well. The important thing in this exercise is to focus on a quicker feet setup in order to anticipate the incoming topspin, where the ball will pick up more pace. Having the option of using the slice when the incoming ball comes with topspin provides the player with variety and tactical advantages, as it disrupts the rhythm of an opponent who is used to dealing primarily with topspin shots. The change in pace and spin can lead to errors or weaker returns. This slice should be used when your opponent places the ball low and short forcing you to move inside the court. It is very important to recognize this ball because it's not deep enough to use as a neutral slice or short enough to approach to the net. Remind the player that the takeback for this backhand and forehand slice is shorter in order to set the feet properly. In addition to a short takeback and feet setup, it is very important to work on a firm contact to prevent the ball from floating, giving the opponent additional time to attack. Finally, it is very important to work on the proper weight transfer during the contact in order to achieve a balanced forehand or slice forehand. The correct body transfer also helps the player to recover behind the baseline quicker after the shot has been executed. When the incoming ball is short and low and in the middle of the court, it is very important to have in your arsenal of shots a good backhand or slice forehand approach, where the main objective is taking away the time of your opponent and force a tough passing shot. For this shot, the preparation of the racket must be compact. The main objective is to leave the legs free in order to avoid the ball settle lower than necessary. As the player gets closer to the ball, it is necessary to turn the body and use a crossover step while making contact with the ball in order to align the shoulders correctly with the desired direction. When the incoming ball comes very low and short, it's very important to work on a backhand or slice forehand without a pause in order to set the feet correctly. The racket preparation must be short and compact, and the contact must be firm and forward. Remind the player that the turn or crossover step is not possible in this shot due to the lack of time. Therefore, the slice must be executed without a pause. The drop shot is a variation of the backhand or forehand slice that has to be executed tactically at the right time. Usually this happens where the opponent is in a defensive position and the player wanting to perform a successful drop shot must be located in an offensive position. The drop shot could be done without or with a disguise. However, at the moment of contact, the face of the racket should be lowered a little bit more in order to generate more backspin to minimize the bounce of the ball. To improve the defensive backhand or forehand slice, it is necessary to expose the player in a defensive situation by feeding balls that move the player backwards in angles or extremely wide. After, it is important to work on the correct footwork to reach the ball with a solid base of support. Then, work on lengthening the follow through and accelerating the racket during the impact to create good depth and firmness. Finally, it's necessary to maintain good balance with legs bent and good shoulder openings after the contact to achieve the desired direction. The tactical approach when hitting this ball is to get depth and height to force the opponent to generate their own rhythm and allowing us to recover to a neutral position. The other choice is to hit a firm and low physical slice to get the ball outside the opponent's ideal strike zone. The objective of this exercise is to work on live backhands and forehands down the line and cross court, focusing on the feet position and body posture. The goal on these live ball drills is to help the players to get used to dealing with the difficulty of hitting live incoming slices. Each incoming ball should come differently in terms of depth, direction, and amount of spin, which will help you not only to prepare your feet and body correctly, but also to identify what type of slice you need to perform while working on maintaining the correct technique.